regards to just the sheer amount of spells that Newbee's lineup picks. But the thing right now is that if the Storm just decides that he wants to split push and never engage, like what can they do about that? If he just decides, I'm not going to fight, I'm just going to farm a Bloodstone and then a BKB, then an Orchid, then a Hex.
I mean, at this point in time, there are two ways to deal with the Storm Spirit pick, right? Like, you pick your last two heroes in order to directly deal with the Storm Spirit, and then you can maybe indirectly deal with the Storm Spirit by just, say, grabbing a push lineup from Ehome and just going, okay, we're just going to 5-man Death Ball you. And Storm Spirit in the first 25 to 30 minutes isn't really good versus 5-man team fights. Even if the enemy team doesn't have that many disables, right? It's still, like, just one telekinesis with 5 heroes there is still enough to kill you.
You're completely right there. That's like those are the two counters. Either you overwhelmingly shut him down, or you... And the thing is that it's not like Lesh where Storm has to go to one lane. It's either the safe lane, which is like 5% of the time, or mid, but he soaks up so much farm that it's worth picking 2 heroes to counter him.
Yeah.
Like, if you're a Leshrac, you can just be like, okay, I'll play support. Or, you know, I just won't build typical. But with Storm, like, there's a very clear-cut build and path that you take. That's like the downside of the hero. Like, it can just win games for you, but at the same time, it's worth it for the enemy team to just have 3 disables. Like, it pisses you off, and you're just like, how is this worth it? But it completely is, because the amount of space you soak up.
Yeah.
You take the jungle, you take the lane, you're the primary killer. Like, there's just so many reasons for it.
There's no draft that has ever said, okay, we just sack the Storm Spirit a little bit. You know, there's never a situation where, like, oh, they're running an aggro tri-lane against our safe lane, you know, Storm Spirit. It's fine. We'll just sack him a little bit. You know, he'll come back.
It'll be a...
Yeah.
No, there's no way.
So Newbee, I like their response here to the Bugna pickup. They ban away the Dragonites, which would have been a pretty solid mid, but it's more fits with the push lineup. Clockwork now, when they already have the Darkseer, I think this is the dual lane Darkseer Clockwork combo.
That is trippy.
It puts a lot of pressure on a safe lane Bloodseeker, is what it does, because you're then able to run this Clockwork, who's already very aggressive and can trap the Bloodseeker inside of cogs, and then you've got double Ion Shell. Like, it's very powerful, I would say, against most melee heroes, and it's one of the few times, and I'm saying this very clearly because I have to deal with this in my pubs all the time, so PSA, one of the few times that Clockwork is acceptable in a dual lane situation. I can't tell you the number of times I pick up my Clockwork, and somebody's like, I'll dual lane with you. And I'm like, no, that's not how this works. Juggernaut, it's a pickup from Ehome. We haven't seen too much Juggernaut. It does kind of fit in the line of the 5-man push. Juggernaut doesn't bring any pushing power directly, but his healing ward is nice for 5-man situations, which are obviously kind of pushing scenarios.
Yeah, you discussed it. It had to be one or another. You know, you actually read that better than I did, because Ehome, it was either your mid hero and your, like, off lane or whatever had to be, you know, it had to counter the Storm, or you just go for the all-out, you know, we're just going to outfight you. And I think that's the direction that Ehome has decided to go, because they realize, like, the type of position that they're in. They're like, okay, we can't actually counter the Storm with the available heroes anymore. And I actually like that Newbee's done that, because that means if you aggro dual lane, you can't leave your safe laner alone, and at the same time, it means that the Storm is not going to be ganked. Like, it's all about giving Rabbit the best possible start. They might even short lane Rabbit with how these lanes have gone, and just put Storm Spirit plus Earthshaker in the bottom lane. That might actually be an okay idea, but I don't know if that's...
Yeah, who's the better mid laner up against...
Pugna?
Well, actually, they're putting Juggernaut in the...
CTY mid.
Yeah, so CTY mid. Is it Storm Spirit who's better there?
Easily.
Yeah, because you just deal way more damage against melee heroes, right?
Yeah, if the Queen of Pain goes for... I think it was yesterday we saw that lane matchup.
Yeah, we did, actually. It's very momentum-based.
Incredibly Storm favored.
Yeah.
It was Resolution playing the Storm mid. He got a solo kill on the Bloodseeker, and they killed him again. The matchup is... It's better for Storm, because if you look at his nukes, Remnant is probably the most cost-efficient spell in Dota. You do 140 damage for 70 mana. You do double your mana cost in damage, and the radius is big enough that you can catch people. Whereas if you take a look at the Queen of Pain, the Shadow Strike is 16 seconds. It's not very strong, and it only ticks 5 times. So a Bloodseeker can just hop in and out, kite. But with the Storm being able to constantly pressure with Static Remnant plus Overload, it's nearly impossible for...
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, that the burst damage is more preferable against a Bloodseeker than damage over time, right? Yeah. Like, the damage is so heavily mitigated by the fact that, yeah, you Shadow Strike and you right-click him sometimes, but if he's Blood Rage and right-clicking creeps correctly, if he's actually getting the last hits, he doesn't care about the damage over time that he's feeling. Whereas Remnant puts you in that sort of, like, danger zone where it's like, if I miss this last hit, I could die.
Was this the matchup, actually, CTY versus Resolution? I think it was, actually. I think it was.
That might have been.
Because I remember it was a really... It had to have been, because it was either Vici or... and I don't think it's a superhero. It might be. He might... I'm not sure. It's pretty irrelevant. All I know is that the matchup is strong for Storm. Like, I played... Because remember yesterday I was like, I've only played this matchup fight.
That's right.
So it's definitely Storm favored.
All right, so we are going to have, like, Banana be this sort of jungling Darkseer, and then June is going to be the solo offlane up against DDC and Juggernaut. This is a perfectly acceptable lane for a Clockwork, right? Like, he's able to deal with Dazzle. It's just a right-clicking harassment hero, and the Juggernaut can't really get to you because of cogs most of the time.
Yeah, this is really interesting. ROTK's offlane Pugna. I'm almost certain this was in response to the general picks. And it was like a we'll just make this work kind of thing. But what are your thoughts on it? Would you ever do? I know you're the offlane player out of the two of us, so
I've actually seen the Pugna run offlane
really?
once or twice in competitive play. But I do agree with you. It feels like the pick is oftentimes just like, okay, we need a Pugna and the like general drafting decision, but it now just like is kind of forced into a offlane position. I feel like this specifically, the matchup that he's dealing with, he should be dying, right? Like, Moo, it's a long lane. You're able to really take advantage of the fact that you've got a blink. In fact, you're going to see them challenge RTK right now. They still have the Fissure ready to go. RTK is actually doing really well, though. I mean, his right-click damage is forcing back Moo handedly, and Jesus, I mean, the Rubik joins them, and he's not really a particularly damage-dealing support, but it's just enough pressure that they can man-fight against this dual lane.
Queen of Pain also just has really bad base armor.
True.
And you don't want to trade like he is right now. Like, ROTK got a ton of regen, and he's just blasting.
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
This is brutal.
That was super close. Lanham still comes in, takes away half of that health potion, which is incredibly important, right? Because the lower that Queen of Pain stays, CTY feels way more comfortable in his matchup against Rabbit.
He's already got plus 20 damage. I was actually just about to make that point, and then you took away my job. But CTY might actually just kill him here. Oh, Rabbit, he doesn't have enough bottle charges. He doesn't have mana for this.
One more right click. He needs another one. CTY will finally get it. CTY will drop low, but he will survive with 38 HP to survive. Oh, the rocket with Blood Rage! If one of those melee creeps is just a little bit lower, he could have gotten the last hit before the rocket came in.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That is an excellent play from June, the level 1 rocket securing the kill. I'm not even sure the level 1 rocket actually would kill him unless he was Blood Rage like that.
It would have done 50. Oh, man.
It would have been close.
That was really funny, though. But more importantly, it's just like you said, the fact that their dueling is pressuring like that, it's not even like Rabbit. Maybe he played it a little bit suboptimal, but it was more just the fact that the Queen of Pain was so low that he was dealing 100 damage a hit and was moving at like 450 boost speed. Like, you're not going to get out, especially with the nerfs to Storm's boost speed.
Whoa, Pugna actually picks up the kill on the Queen of Pain there.
What the?
Looks like just simple telekinesis, drop in the ward, and probably another blast. And that burst damage was enough to kill the Queen of Pain. This is working out really well for them. I just didn't imagine that the Rubik was going to be joining this Pugna, and it was going to make such a potent lane as it was, but I guess the Queen of Pain is really showing a lot of disfavor here in 2v2 scenarios. He's going to jump on ROTK now, but they don't have range for the Fissures, so no kill there. Banana's now going to join June here in the top lane. Remember, he's been kind of jungling away as a
in this mid lane too. Rabbit's going to go down for sure here. One more right click should do it, and CTY. Oh man, Lanham is just destroying them right now.
Yeah, this is huge because CTY is now about to pick up his level 6, way ahead of the Storm Spirit, getting that ball lightning. You said last time we saw this matchup, again, more reason for the Storm Spirit to be favored. Rupture is such a potent killing ability, but it doesn't matter to a Storm Spirit most of the time.
Newbee's just frustrated. You could tell. Even on Moo's maneuver at bottom, he knew there was 0 chance that he kills the Pugna there, right? But he chased him much further than you want to. Like, they're just getting frustrated right now because the Queen of Pain shouldn't have done that. The Storm shouldn't have died in mid lane. And now everything is just kind of falling apart, I guess. It is only the early game, but still, like, you hate to see your Storm lose an easily winnable matchup. Like, we saw Resolution destroy CTY in this matchup, I think. Like, even first blooding him, and maybe that's what made the difference. Like, he learned. It's like, okay, I can't actually challenge a Storm like this way. Like, you do, if he's a good enough player where.
But we also, remember we talked about how Empire always carried, like, multiple health potions around with them.
Yeah.
And there's no way that Bloodseeker gets that kill without having that big increase in movement speed and damage.
They were so smart about that.
Oh, and June, they're going to try and go for Juggernaut. Juggernaut actually ran out of mana now. He still needs another 10. If he gets the Cogs here, he's dead. And, yep, sure enough, he gets the Cogs, traps in the Juggernaut. I love the way that June waited for that one because it's damn near impossible to get a diagonal catch with Cogs. It just almost always pushes out the hero. It's super tough. Like, if you're sitting anywhere, like, kind of horizontal or even diagonally to the hero.
They're trying to dive on Rabbit again.
Yeah,
sorry to cut you off.
No, they won't be able to make that. It's just you always push him out, right? It's just so difficult in that situation. So he waited until they were on a straight parallel plane.
Okay.
Where he has that better edge.
That's so smart. I guess if I was the Clockwork, I was just wondering why he wasn't using it immediately.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you've seen my Clockwork.
Whatever, dude. Blitz is referencing a game where he beat me as a Clockwork off lane. I killed you in the off lane.
I just random now. I don't even play Storm anymore. In preparation for TI, I just played random almost every single game, just so I could get a better feel.
I'm not a good enough player, nor do I. I care enough about my MMR. I can't random.
Once you're 7, I mean, I've got a few accounts now that I just smurf on that around that range. So
yeah, once I get multiple accounts that are all 6K and above, then maybe I'll start randoming.
My account's about to hit 7K on random only. I'm pretty proud about it.
Wow, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, but in this specific game though, this offlane Pugna is actually just destroying, and June's actually rotated us out.
They already have this countered. Like, there's going to be the TP, and June gets a really good set of Cogs.
Too.
Yeah, they're going to try and go for Lana, but now already the Rupture's laid out. June can't actually run away. He tries to go for Lana, actually with a good Sonic Wave. Moo actually gets that kill, so at least he gets the trade-off. Still, though,
yeah.
That was Ehome very well prepared for a rotation. I mean, they already had their 2 supports set up defensively. I'm not sure if they expected the Queen of Pain. I think that's probably what it is. They expected the Queen of Pain to go for the kill on Pugna, but then it turns out like a Clockwork full rotates over.
They're just being outmaneuvered right now. It's actually really impressive. The thing is, Newbee is making all the plays that I'm calling, and I'm not even proud of it because what it means is it's obvious. Like, right, when I called the smoke ganks, it's just too obvious. And Ehome is recognizing that, and what they're doing is they're saying, Newbee's just getting frustrated. Like, we're just outplaying them right now. Just keep this pace going because they don't really, they're not doing anything too out of the box or anything like that. Like, they're playing into our hands right now.
Yeah.
Like, we're getting exactly what we want out of the laning phase, and I find that so interesting because if I'm making calls, it's not even that I'm being
nice jump. They're going to separate CTY. That's a beautiful play. If they can actually get him, there's still the Shaw Grave out from DDC. No, he goes for the heal instead.
Even get
and June, oh dear, now he's ruptured up. He's got nowhere to run to. They really thought they could burst him down, but turns out CTY is just too healthy. He had a lot of Magic Wand charges, which he didn't even use. It wasn't even close. Clockwork, he's only got level 3 of Battery Assault, but I guess they just very, very much underestimated the Bloodseeker's HP.
He's doing the same build too. He's going to go for the treads just for the tankiness and in case. And now he feels comfortable enough to go for the Midas to try to snowball. And they're going to make an attempt on his life here mid, I think. Yeah, Rabbit's going to pop the invis. He's going to wait. But he's going to be so disappointed because he sees CTY at absolute full HP. And he could be farming during this time. Like, he's going to try to wait here. Maybe he just gets like pissed and tries to go for it. But what can you do in this situation? Like, the Darkseer is rotating over. And Lanem isn't even that big of a target. And this is so dangerous for them. Like, Banana's... Okay, Banana spotted. Like, they know. They're even popping the in... This is so bad right now because they're being read like a book.
They're done for. Like, Juggernaut's going to catch him eventually. Yep, the telekinesis in the middle of the surge. And if necessary, the Omni Slash will be used and they get that kill for the Jug.
They're just being frustrated right now. Like, there's no way they should have gone for that play. Like, they saw that 2 heroes were there. Those 2 heroes are much stronger than the 2 that Newbee had available. And then the Juggernaut even rotates in, like... Newbee's just getting mad. This is like the frustration play. Like, you saw Rabbit even ping like crazy. This is just the, why are we not doing anything, like, even in that situation?
And a minus complete for CTY. He's going to spend his full time in the jungle and give up the middle lane to Lanem, who is already level 6. So They didn't even need necessarily to give this Rubik solo experience. He's just been participating in so many kills that he's actually kept his levels up just fine.
Yeah, it's actually just really good play by CTY. Like, he almost always wins his lanes, and then he can rotate to the jungle. And it seems like he's a passive player, but it's actually not. It's just that he does such a good job in the laning phase that he can afford to be a little bit more greedy and get away with this type of play.
R2K, oh, no, that's a dazzle. That's not the Rubik from earlier, so there's no way they get this kill. It's just Moo. He feels confident enough because he has a regeneration to throw some damage out. And then he'll heal himself back up eventually. Newbee are really gunning for kills here. They're going to lean with the hook shot onto the Juggernaut, who's going to spin his way out of this one. Rupture is going to be put on June. He's kind of stuck now. The wall placed to defend June. He needs to try and get this tower aggro off of him with the telekinesis pull back and the Rupture on top. Still not enough damage. He's actually being kept alive by the bottling play of Newbee. And they'll get this tier 1 tower now. CTY, though, has a lot of extra damage. They've already finished up the Queen of Pain and looking for more, perhaps. But with the Fissure block out, Ehome are going to be just sitting pretty with 1 kill in exchange for that tier 1 tower. Newbee just needed to force something there, and I think they're going to be happy with an exchange of any kind.
Yeah, just any sort of golden fusion at this point matters a lot, because the way that things are going is that even though the score is only 3-7, it's not even that I'm biased towards either of these teams because I don't know any of their players, but it's more just that I'm a bigger fan of how Ehome is approaching this and how they're playing. Like, their methods like make a lot of sense to me, and the way that they're playing, it just feels like they're in a lot more harmony and in sync. And I was actually expecting this more out of Newbee, but I mean, Ehome is just kind of farming everywhere. They're just demons on the map right now.
Yeah, you can see a very steady decline there in the net worth graph, as well as the experience, as the net worth goes further and further to the favor of Ehome. They've got this free farming Juggernaut, a free farming Bloodseeker. R2K has done quite well in his lane. Those sort of graphs just show that, generally speaking, the enemy team is just being outplayed or outfarmed in some way. At this point, Newbee may need to make something happen. The question is really, how do they do it? It's based a lot around June's clockwork. Of course, they aren't going to be having a Blink Dagger on Sansheng anytime soon, and Darkseer is more of a passive farming offlaner than most others. So June is entirely the playmaker here, paired up with the 2 intelligence cores. But are these 3 heroes going to be enough to make the difference? As 12 minutes in, it's 3-7 to the favor of Ehome.
Yeah, you're seeing the weakness of Storm now, right? Is that if you get behind on Storm, what do you have to do? You can't really gank. It's just not safe enough because your farming potential is so high, but you can't really go around and gank at this point. But going around and farming kind of screws them over too, right? Because you just put no pressure on the map. And in a competitive game of Dota, like maybe in your standard pubs, you could go around and do whatever you want, but Ehome's just going to take advantage of this and run at you nonstop. Like, they're going for the smoke right now because they recognize, like, there's actually no hero on Newbee that can do anything. Like, you're talking about the clockwork going around the map, but he went for it 3 times already, and he's died twice for it, and he's got no farm now as a result of that. And he's got no levels at the same time, which is even more important. Like, I feel like as a clockwork player, you want to be at least like level 8 or 9 at this point, right? Yeah. Especially since you were against a dual lane.
It's a good response from Newbee to go ahead and 5-man down that tier 1 tower at bottom lane. Their pushing power is nowhere near the power of Ehome, who's got a Mask of Madness, Blood Raged Bloodseeker, as well as that Pugna. And Ehome are actually trying to defend both here. Maybe this is a mistake. Lanum's going to be caught out. More TPs are coming in, though. We'll see how Newbee are able to respond. Move blink forward from Moo. We do have the Juggernaut ready to go with his Omni Slash, but hasn't really found a prime opportunity. CTY comes forward now with a Rupture. And a lot of Newbee are still quite healthy. They're going to turn around on Juggernaut. Miss Fissure there. Hookshot being laid down onto ROTK. The squishy Pugna isn't a match for the nukes of both Moo and June. Now the Omni Slash gets laid out. CTY, he's got a lot of movement speed, but he needs to pick up this first 1 kill in order to keep himself alive. They're stuck inside these trees. The nukes are coming out. CTY is still fast enough. No, not fast enough for the Fissure. Newbee just got a great team fight as Ehome was seemingly unwilling to give up a trade of tier 1 for tier 1, trying to defend, but their defense was very disjointed and clunky. They had heroes such as Lanum caught out way before anybody else was ready on Ehome.
I just can't believe that Ehome decided to go for that defense. I think you're completely right there. They're just like, we shouldn't trade this tower. We're ahead in this game. You know, we can't give this up. This is what's going to allow them to come back. But that was what allowed them to come back into this game. It wasn't
fighting.
It's not that you lost at tier 1 towers, that you TP'd in almost 1 by 1, right? And then it wasn't even like they fought together as a unit. It was just like, I'll go in here, I'll go in there.
Yeah, that fight very easily could have gone the way of Ehome if it was just planned out and they were together a bit more. Now RTK is going to be caught here. It's the hook shot and the jump in from Rabbit, and this is the snowball factor. Storm Spirit has finally found openings, and he's actually has 3K gold, so he's going to be very close to that first item. But what is his first item? Is it Orchid versus the Juggernaut, or is Bloodstone the better option here? Because he's got to deal with a lot of offensive power, especially from that Pugna.
I think you go for the Bloodstone, almost certainly. If you go for the Orchid at this point, it's just too late. The Bloodseeker can just tech switch into a Manta style, or even, what is that item called? You can get a Manta style, or even a BKB.
Did you just bring us up a StarCraft 2 term?
Yeah, I
tech switch?
Yeah,
I kind of like it.
I say it a lot, and some people don't understand it, but...
You're just talking about changing up your item builds.
Yeah, exactly. In response to something you see.
Oh, Juggernaut actually cancels TP,
no.
but so
he thought somebody was coming!
Oh, dear. That's just classic miscommunication.
What's going on?
Ehome are falling apart before our very eyes. That's what's going on. See if they get this back, though. They're going for the tier 1 tower in the middle lane, but Rabbit's already set up to defend this one with TPs coming in. Ehome are going to be in some serious trouble. They've got 2 supports sitting behind. CTY is going to be the first target. They're going to try and blow him up immediately, but he does get a lot of heals. Hookshot still catching CTY, but managed to get the silence off. There's no cogs. CTY will be able to run himself away. RTK managed to get the Shao Grave put onto him, so he will also get out. Oh, but Rabbit, he wants some more. He's going to be able to jump in, pick up the Pugna, and looks like finish off Lanham as well. Nope, it's not enough. Looks like the weave increase in armor was enough, but now the Fisher, he actually turned around to go for the telekinesis play. I'm not sure why, but...
Everything right now is falling apart for...
CTY almost just
okay, CTY really... like, that was really pushing it. I was like, if the Ancients just decided... He must have been on the threshold for that hit, but...
Yeah.
I mean, everything now is pretty much falling apart for Ehome. They played... The weird thing is they played so carefully, and now they're just making mistakes that I'm just not used to seeing them make. Like, YJ thought somebody was TPing, and that wasn't the case at all, and he was gone. Like, he was scot-free. Nothing could cancel his Omni Slash at that point, or his Blade Fury, and then he goes for the TP out. And then that mid play where they just overcommit and think they're completely safe, and now everything is just really falling apart at the seams. As they had a good lead. They had a Midas at the same time. They had built up a 4K lead, and now it feels like they're getting a little bit tilted as everything's turned around.
It's a 6,000 gold swing in the space of 4 minutes. Yeah, that can happen in one team fight mid to late game, but this early on before the 20-minute marker, 6,000 gold swing is gigantic.
It just means that you're just dying.
Yeah.
And if you're Newbee, you're probably satisfied all of a sudden, because now you've taken the lead, and you probably didn't expect that. Like, they were probably just like, okay, well, you know, we're going for this bottom push. Hopefully we take a tower. We've got to do something. And then that gets delivered into your laps.
Junum gonna jump on Lanham. They do have the blood right laid out, but Lanham, he seems to be sacrificed here in exchange for this tower. He's still kept alive by the Shao Grave. A lot of heals coming in for him all of a sudden, but there's Rabbit, jumps in, grabs Lanham, makes sure he does, in fact, die. Ehome are still sticking around as a 4-man group, though. Rabbit's gonna try and pop RTK.
The Iron Shell too.
Yeah, there goes the Sonic Wave. They actually get the dazzle in the background. But Moo gets blown up on the Omni Slash. Another blood right laid out. These heroes drop low. Now the Bloodseeker can go ham, and it's not gonna be enough, it seems. They've got enough sustain and just naturally tanky heroes that the Bloodseeker can't actually pop any of them. He goes for mana and now, and they do catch the Juggernaut at the same time, so it's a 1-for-1 trade-off. CTY, despite the fact that June is very low, won't be able to go for that kill.
Man, and Ehome again, it really just feels like, I mean, Newbee had the advantage. Like, for anybody curious or is just tuned in or is wondering why I kept saying that they had the advantage, they did, but now they're just taking fights one by one that, or Ehome is taking fights like one by one that they shouldn't, because CTY has so much farm that I think they're just getting way too overconfident in their ability to take these fights.
Do you think that the mindset of what this draft was, which was, okay, we're going to do a lot of 5-manning and a lot of pushing down towers, do you think that's kind of getting to them a little bit, where they're like, okay, we threw, you know, that one really big advantage at bottom lane trying to defend, and our whole entire lineup is built on taking towers before them. We've lost our advantage. We need to gain it back by, you know, 5-manning and actually reclaiming some control. But they're just doing it perhaps a little bit too early. Like 5-manning into that middle tier 1 tower twice now and losing 2 different fights for it quite heavily. The Ehome are going to be scrambling to catch up.
I think I've said it in the past, if you're against a lineup that you're afraid to play against later on in the game, it's not about just non-stop looking for fights, it's about taking smart fights.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get very many opportunities. And it kind of sounds BS. You're like, well, why should Ehome's lineup only have like 1 chance to make a slip-up? But it wasn't even like it was a small slip-up. They lost 5 heroes, a tower, and then they did it again. So whatever opportunities they had are really just kind of getting thrown under the bus, and they're going to run into each other here, and I'm not even sure how the fight is favored. Is Sansheng. He's got a blink dagger, but he's going to get initiated.
Oh, shot managed to catch in 2 with June. Well, he's probably going to be going down to CTY. That BKB is tearing him a new one. RGK actually being kept alive by the Shao Grave, plus the Drain. Rabbit, though, is plenty healthy. It's 2 heroes down on the side of Newbee for Ehome's 1, but Rabbit comes back in, is able to finish off ROTK. He goes down. Rabbit actually still has enough mana to get out. A big ball lightning jump, and actually has enough mana thanks to his Bloodstone charges. He can make another one if he was chased down.
He's got a DD on the Ion Shell. I think he wants to get into a fight. He sees the Mask of Madness popped at the same time.
This is a perfect opportunity for them to blow up the Juggernaut with a Sonic Wave on top. Rabbit just simply makes a TP out right in front of 2 heroes who do not have a stun. Newbee just finding all of these openings and exploiting them time and time again because they now have that advantage and they know they've got such a great mid-game team fight lineup that they can easily just wreck this. Ehome, despite the fact that we're talking about like a lot of 5-manning and such, they can go late game, right? Like there's not that much pressure on them to end the game by, you know, 35 minutes or something like that. They've got a Juggernaut and Bloodseeker late game.
I don't think they can go late game.
No?
You're against, in mid, Lanam if he dies here.
Yeah, he actually gets the telekinesis, so unfortunately, Rabbit still has enough mana to make a ball lightning jump, so not jumping. Oh, Echo Slam being able to lay out, knock out 2 immediately, and CTY now trapped inside the Kong. CTY will be able to get the kill, though, on June. Try to TP away, but no such luck. He's still got the Rupture as well, so he can actually, nope, can't catch Sansheng. He blinks ahead, so CTY is still getting a good amount of farm. Like, he is the one hero who actually is staying ahead of Newbee. He's got 12,000 net worth. This game is entirely on his shoulders, I feel.
Yeah. The way that, I guess that I'm thinking about it anyways, is if you look at whoever has the more mobile cores is the ones that can set up how they want to take the fight.
Okay.
So if you see Ehome's lineup and, CTY is going to get initiated on here.
And they do have a healing ward. Maybe that'll keep CTY alive, but never mind. Once again, a Sonic Wave comes in, and Juggernaut, he almost dies too. They almost right-click him down as he Blade Fury and TP's out. That would have been a huge loss if both of their cores had died, but just CTY by himself, I mean, he was worth so much. RTK now going to be jumped on as well. This just goes from bad to worse. I mean, it's 1 pick off into multiple now as all these mobile heroes, as you were kind of saying about the late game, you're already seeing the power of that right here at 22 minutes. They're able to set up the fights they want.
Because the thing is, we talked about this early game, if you're not going to pick a counter to Storm, then you have to win the fights. Like you said it best, right? Is that you either just overwhelm the Storm where you can't really do anything from that 20-minute mark up until that 20-minute mark, and so you want to take those fights and win them and just build up a big enough advantage. But Ehome doesn't have a big enough advantage at this point where Rabbit is pressured at all. Like this is like the dream Storm game. There's just 1 disable on the enemy team. Like how happy are you to see that? Like the Bloodseeker silence doesn't count because it's so exaggerated and obvious when it counts, and so he actually has nothing to worry about. Like in every fight, he's just like, I'll do whatever I want.
Yeah. It's like the next time that Ehome actually have something versus Newbee would be like them getting Scythe of Ice on Pugna and a Abyssal on Juggernaut. And it's like so far out there. Like he's got a good 20, like a solid chunk of 20 minutes to basically run this game for Newbee.
Yeah. Do you remember, I really don't like referencing pub games in my cast, but do you remember when we played a game against Illidan?
Yeah.
And we were super far behind, and he was like a 6-slotted Bloodseeker at like 40 minutes. And I was like a Storm with like half that net worth, and we still won, right? It's just because the hero naturally counters it. like half the net worth of Bloodseeker, or half the net worth of Storm Spirit just destroys Bloodseeker, because you always will get the jump on the Bloodseeker.
And the Bloodseeker is such a hero.
Oh, the full man jump on top is YJ. He spots him out with that ward up there. He just can't. He went from the river cap all the way over here. That's like a pub move that I make, you know? That's the mentality. He just doesn't care anymore. He's like, there's nothing that can kill me. Like, I actually don't even care.
I mean, he didn't really have much vision of the enemy team. He just had vision of the Juggernaut. That's all he had. And he was like, nope, that's still enough.
That's pretty much all I need. Look at that. They're running. He's by himself. Like, his entire team is showing. And typically when this happens, this is not when you want to gank. Yeah. But they're running from him. Oh, boy. Rabbit. Just going ham.
Ehome now going to try and set up a fight for this bottom lane. You know the Storm Spirit's going to be here, though. I mean, he gets so much mana regeneration. Moo actually made the blink and didn't actually... So there is a way, for those of you guys who don't know, you can blink, and if you immediately run afterwards, you can dodge the rupture damage because it's 1,300. The range is 1,300. So essentially, it's 1,300 over 0.25 seconds. So essentially, the Queen of Pain can move over 1,300 range if she does a max blink, and it is immediately moving afterwards. I think the same thing actually works if you move immediately before your blink, because it just kind of like you have to stop, move a little bit, and blink at the same time, sort of thing. But essentially, you can dodge the rupture damage. It's just a very technical maneuver you have to pull.
This Jug is going for, I really like to justify his players' builds, but once he saw that the Storm is going for the Orchid, I feel like he should just change his Yasha into a Manta instead. Because then you can't die, but yeah, in this situation you can.
Oh my god! That is 3 heroes jumping instantly onto 1, and now with the vacuum wall follow-up plus the Sonic Wave. Newbee are just getting wombo combos and making it look easy. I mean, they literally just didn't lose any HP in that fight. It was a slaughter. Ehome lose 3 heroes, and now the tier 3 is under siege.
I don't even think that they're not standing far back enough.
Like, Bottom is too close. Okay, Ehome had just lost it. They know it's over. It's so far over. So 28-14, Newbee do strike back in this game number 2 and make it an even series, 1-1.
If you're for anybody that wants to know, the reason why I know that's not far enough is because I played enough pub games. Like, your only core that can deal with the Storm is dead. I would go, you're just like, you can't prevent it. What is the Jug gonna do? Omni Slash? You actually have to sit, if you're curious, on the other tier 3